Boom! According to that, I am live. I made a mistake. I was totally setting this up in the after party stream. I had the two streams set up and I picked the wrong one and I was setting it all up and I was like, wow, there's no comments and there's only like 3 people in here, which come think of it, there were 3 people in there. And I actually set it live. And then I realized, oh, this is the wrong stream. So I had to terminate that stream, which means now that link is gone. So the link I sent it around earlier, I'm gonna have to set up another link for the after party. But yeah, I came back to this, and so now I am in the right stream. It's good to see, and there are people here. Yeah, it's like there's only 3 people. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I'll still do it. But you know, it's always better when there are people to join me. So thank you for joining me. Let's move this across. Get my head more in the middle of the frame there. Great to see we have so many people in here. In fact, can you hear me? That's a question. Got my microphone here. It should be making sounds, but yeah, you can see I've got the mixer all set to go. I've got a bit of a new setup here. I've got this thing I've kind of rigged up. The setup before had a bit of a problem with the way that it was, the thing that I was holding the phone with, it wasn't working very well. So I got a bit of a new rig today, so I'm just going to try that out. It should work better, but that's all after party stuff, but that is fun. Anyway, who's in the chat? We got Shubis, a man from Panama. First one in here. Never fear, Shubis is here. Sunday morning. Hope you're enjoying a coffee with your Sunday morning. Great to see you. We've got Sadiq. Second in the chat, our man from Florida, waiting. Good to see you. Michael Gillen Peckett, good to see you as always. Great to have you there in the chat. Kerberos Tenchi, here too. Present and accounted for. Man from Germany. Damaster. Damaster, where are you? I assume you're from Japan, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know, but I'm always assuming that you're in Japan. Well, you say good afternoon, so that implies Europe. So there we go. Kerberos Tenchi, off to get coffee and cookies. Glad that you're enjoying your coffee and cookies. I got a bunch of stuff from France today. I used to play rugby in France, and I used to play rugby for a French team in Tokyo. And one of the guys on the team who didn't actually speak English that well, yeah, he was a great guy, and I always got along with him. We sort of spoke in Japanese to each other. But he went and wrote a book, all in French, about his time in Japan, including the rugby team, including a couple of things mentioning me. So he was good enough to send me the book. And he not only sent me the book, but he sent me a whole lot of Toulousian sweets and food and stuff. So I got like this whole big French care book today, which is pretty cool, which included cookies. So that's why when I saw coffee and cookies, I thought, oh, I got stuff from Toulouse today, which is pretty sweet. It was really good. So I'm looking forward to digging into that. Moi, Yoni, great to see Yoni. Saw Yoni at the Hanami yesterday, such as it was. Can you really call it a Hanami if there's no Hana to me? Maybe not. Big credit to Zach, of course, getting out there early in the morning in the freezing cold and the rain and holding the spot. And he was out there all day. I imagine he is exhausted. He's probably getting to the age where he'll be starting to feel like, oh, you know, can I get someone else to do this for me? But he put on a great thing. He arranged drinks, arranged the system for it. It was a great get together, and you know, what it's really about is about meeting people. And although it's probably going to be next weekend is going to be the main weekend. This weekend was supposed to be the big Hanami weekend. Everything was, all the weather forecasts were, even a week before, we're predicting last weekend, this current weekend would be it. But we just had a freezing cold week. We had a cold snap, and it just froze all the trees. So none of them have come out. But they're starting to see buds on the trees today. So definitely next weekend. Next weekend in Tokyo, 23 degrees and sunny. So it's going to be like an unusually good Hanami day. So that would be probably, if Tokyo Kuni was doing the Tokyo Hanami, he'd do it next weekend. And that's definitely the day to get out and sightsee if you're in Tokyo. I saw Marcos Fernandez, guy who shares a lot of AI stuff that I like to follow. He's actually visiting Tokyo. I hope to catch up with him. But yeah, he picked a really good week for it because it is a week later than everyone thought. But Yoni, was excellent to see you at the Hanami again yesterday. Or to see you again at the Hanami. But nice to chat and good to hang out. And Lara, great to see you at the Hanami as well. And indeed, welcome to Tokyo, back from Italy. So, yeah, great to have you in the chat as always. We got coffee out there. Quint Rankin made it. Quint is awaiting the boom, and yeah, I was booming in the wrong stream, so that wouldn't be me if we didn't have technical issues, of course. And yeah, all meeting in person. Me too. Slake Manson, good to see you, Slake. Yeah, wow, and really, really early for you as well, so I appreciate that. Let's see if I've got it figured out. No, I did not have it figured out, Shubis. I did not. You were all craving features. Yes, that's right. I had features. Aaron, our moderator, good morning to you. Good to see you as always. Aaron is here. Yes, indeed. Please hit the like button while we wait. Did I get likes at least? Like sympathy likes for for not actually being in the stream. Although, oh, there we go. 12 likes, 18 concurrent viewers. So there we go. Duly smashed. Good on you. Dan H. Good to see you, Dan H. And again, very good to see you. I hope you had a great time in Japan. But good seeing you when you were traveling through. Duly smashed. Who else we got in here? We got, just want to say you're so thankful for this community and to me for being a consistent, giving us all a reason to hang out. Hey, I mean, like I say, I would be here. Like, I'm so glad all of you are here, and I do genuinely think when I look at other people's like comment threads, I don't think there is as good a comment thread as this. But at the same time, I mean, the whole thing is, I was about to do a full live stream with no people watching, and that's me. That's what I would do anyway. So the fact that I have people willing to hang out and indulge me just doing whatever the hell I like now for 2 hours, it still blows my mind, and I appreciate it incredibly. And that's why I don't monetize. That's why I chase peanuts, and yeah, that's why I'm very glad to see all of you. So well said, Aaron, and believe me, the thankfulness is all mine. So yeah, otherwise I'd just be a crazy person talking to myself, which I would still do. But yeah, it's I feel slightly more sane having you all here. So yes, indeed, all of that stuff. We got wow, we got the vibes here. Almost 10 years since you came to this place. It's very nice and consistent. Thanks to me. Also, I try to be consistent. I've actually got on the April 7. So I'll be here next week. 7 I'll be in Australia. But one thing is using the StreamYard setup. This is all in the cloud. So I could even join with this, I think, with the mobile phone. Well, it'd be difficult with the screen capture part of it, but I could make this layout look the same and I could hook up the same. So it does make setting up, like using OBS in America was just a pain. So I should be able to do it pretty consistently. Even the thing about Australia, of course, is that the internet there is just so terrible. But yeah, we will do that now. So set up the after party link now. Yeah, I've got to set up the after party. I guess I can do it pretty quickly anyway. So I'll do it at the end of the show and I'll share the link. But apologies for that anyway. So yeah, we got Billy Ocean. Believe in yourself. Good to see you, man, from Canada. But Suddenly by Billy Ocean. I always think of Get Out of My Dreams and When the Going Gets Tough are the two Billy Ocean songs I know. I'm not sure about Suddenly, but maybe it's in there. Anyway, you can hear me, so glad that everybody confirms. 11 likes already, which means I'm behind. We got from Germany, says the master. Oh, sorry, there we go. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm putting it together now. Yes. The master. Okay, so we got another Guten Morgen on the stream. Anyway, good to see. We've got Atomic Tom. Glad that you can make it. The stream is super stuttery for you. Might be because of the storm outside. I don't know. I don't think atmospheric interference should do much with this. I've got a pretty good stream here, but if lots of people are getting a stuttery stream anyway, I hope that's try refreshing. Yeah. Okay, the next Yogi Hanami is April 6th. Well, hopefully it won't be over by then. Zach's out next weekend. That's why. I mean, look, if you're going on your own, I do recommend just go anywhere with a tree next weekend and you'll be fine. Although it should still be going on April 6th as well. So there we go. Okay, so I guess there'll be more info from Zach. If I can find it, I will share that around. So that was a Hanami prediction failure. It was, but it's weather. And this is where Tokyo Kuni, what was cool about him and what I still agree with Tokyo Kuni was that, you know, if there are no Hanas, it's not a Hanami. And, you know, it's the Tokyo YouTube Hanami. And it's for people in Tokyo. If you happen to be in Tokyo the week of the Hanami, you know, lucky for you. But if you're not, if you want to book a trip like 6 months in advance and you want me to commit to a date, you know, that we might be doing the party in the rain with no flowers, screw you. This is for Tokyo people. And, you know, it's supposed to be unpredictable and it's supposed to be sort of, you know, momentary, and you got to be supposed to be lucky if you make it. And that was his attitude. And you know what? It was kind of a screw you. You know, this is for people in Tokyo for viewing cherry blossoms. And I know that a lot of the organizers are always under lots of pressure because so many people want to come and, you know, do the YouTube party as part of coming to Japan, and they try to schedule it. But I actually think he held out really well against all that pressure, and I always agreed it kind of made sense. You have to be a little bit of an a-hole for it. But Tokyo Kuni, he kind of had the clout that he could do that. He could stand up to people and do that and not care. And not be bothered if people were saying, well, it's going to ruin my whole vacation. But at the same time, you know, life happens with people. Even Zach has plans for next weekend. So yeah, it'll be great next weekend anyway. What else we got here? Great to hang out indeed, Yoni. Michael Gillen Pickett's only seen one cherry blossom tree in Kansas. I've seen a couple of random trees, but yeah, really nothing yet. I went out for a run today and it was pretty uh it was pretty still the trees are pretty bare, but hopefully it's fit coming. Sympathy likes. Kustos, good to see you, Kustos. I'm so humble. I am not humble. I am not humble, but like I say, I'll be doing this anyway. But yeah, I appreciate that. The squirrels are strong today, says Aaron. Indeed, they are. Well, there's a lot going on in the chat here, trying to keep up. Hello, back, says Sadiq. Good to see you. Bring the squirrels. Kerberos Tenchi mentioning apparently they found 100 new species of sea creatures off the coast of New Zealand today. Although none of them are still as good as the animals in Australia. I mean, we're trying. We're going down to the bottom of ocean trenches, trying to find types of algae and sea slugs and stuff to try to give us something better than a kangaroo. But unless we find an actual wombat in the ocean, you know, we're going to keep trying, but we're never going to have animals as good as Australia. And yeah, no, absolutely, I get it. But yeah, and I'd love to go visit Europe sometime. So thank you, everybody, for, I think we're up to speed with the comments, at least the ones that I can see. So let's dive into the show. So that after party link, which I sent earlier, is not going to work now. I'm going to have to create a new one, but yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. One thing that I've been doing lately, so of course I've always been doing my running, but something very, very cool just arrived, which I just took out today. So whenever I go out running, I actually have, and I've just realized now, where did I put the camera? So I guess I'm becoming a little bit of a running cyborg, although it's all kind of fun. Of course, I run with this, the Apple Watch. I got these custom bands for it, which I like to sort of mix and match. And this is great. This tells me my heart rate, and it tells me, you know, my pace and everything. And it's pretty good, and it tracks all the stats, and I can see if I'm getting fitter or not. So I've always got this on. This is what I time my runs on, of course, and it's great. It's the Apple Watch Ultra. Another thing that I actually do when I run is in fact, let me open this up. Boom. Whoops, that one. I also have an app which I use when I run, which is this. It's Pace DJay, and what it does is it sets a BPM. Whoops. It sets a BPM, so I set a BPM which is like the rhythm that I run at, which is basically good for drum and bass music, which I like, so it works for that, and for hip-hop music, which is like half of that, so like what is that, 83.5 is a lot of hip-hop music that fits that as well, and it'll not only play music at that BPM, if there's something like 10 BPM off, it'll change the speed of the music to make it the speed that I want to run at. So I've always got this strapped to my arm when I'm running, so I've got this for, you know, measuring my performance, I've got this for music basically, I've always got an earpod in. Lately, of course, I also carry this when I run. I run holding it like this, so you know it's not too heavy. But when I extend it, when I see like there's a bunch of cherry blossom trees up ahead, I extend the stick and I extend it out and I sort of hold it near my feet and I press play. And that's how I get all the videos that I share on Instagram mostly. You can see them on Facebook as well if you follow me there. I'm Hiko Simon on everything, by the way, but on Instagram I mainly just post runs. You know, it's just a place. It's a nice excuse to take a photo. And it makes me try to find nice scenery to go look at when I'm running. But one thing is that whenever I'm running, even with all this equipment that I'm always running with, I'm always looking down at my watch and stuff and trying to check. Like lately, I've been focusing on doing low heart rate, like not getting my heart rate above like 150 beats per minute, which is just good for building fitness. So I'm always looking down, and sometimes I don't keep track of it properly. So I've always wanted to have like a heads-up display. I've talked about this. I want smart glasses that I can wear that are light and that are like regular glasses that I can just, I've said all I really want are two things. I want all my running information, my pace, my heart rate, stuff like that, just so I don't have to check it, just so I can see it in front of me when I'm running. And ideally, I'd also like Google Maps. I'd like the ability to do orienteering again without having to look at my arm on my, Google Maps on my phone and bend my arm around to get the oriented the right way. I'd just like to know which turn to take next or whatever, which will just let me go running blind and go exploring more in Tokyo without, getting lost and knowing where I'm going. I found a solution. People are telling me, dude, you can already get those. You can get glasses, like cycling glasses with heads-up displays. So I researched it a bit, and there's one brand which actually has that are made for running. And they hook up with the data on your watch, and they don't have the maps yet, although to me it looks like they should. It's just a monochrome heads-up display. And it's really, really cool. So I've got these fellas, which I just tried out for the first time today. And it's kind of funny for all these things where people putting cameras and people putting virtual reality headsets and stuff. I don't need that. I just want an augmented reality where I can just sort of see, where I can just get data that I just want to see and not have to, flip through my phone or flick through my watch while I'm running. And yeah, they're just super simple. They're actually not as glasses. They're pretty basic. They're very, very light, but they've got this sort of heads-up display in here, which reflects off the glass onto my eyes, which I can sort of see, which lets me, without looking down, it lets me see like a heads-up display, like a fighter jet, of all my body stats while I'm running, which just lets me control my pace and lets me control my heart rate and make sure I don't overdo it. So, I mean, I look like, I don't know, I look like a sniper or something, but I tried running with it. I'm not used to running with glasses, but I tried it and it was pretty comfortable and it worked. And it works as advertised. So I don't know, it's pretty cool. I was pretty much into that today. It's not an ad. Kustos, it's just, it's the latest bit. It's the latest thing that I got. And I still actually want these things to have like maps and stuff like that. And I'm going to try it out anyway. But I just sort of, it occurred to me today, I use a lot of IT when I run. I've got my watch, I've got my phone, I've got my app, I've got my music, I've got heads-up glasses and stuff. It's a little bit too much, but it does actually, for me, it makes it fun. I mean, that's what I like to do when I run, is I like to keep track. And it enhances that. So that worked out really, really well, so it's just cool. So that is what I'm doing. Yeah, not sponsored yet. Is this an ad? Ask Kustos, not sponsored yet. But yeah, Ingo 2. It's the Ingo 2. And so far it's pretty cool. Anyway, so I don't know if this, I mean, I'm not saying this to make you fellas buy it. I'm actually just trying it out myself to see if it's any good. The first run was okay, but I'm still figuring it out. We'll find out if it's actually any good. But yeah, it's kind of cool anyway. Something I've talked about wanting to get for a long time. Just where, to me, the idea of having AR glasses, just regular glasses that you can wear, that are as light as that just give you information about the world, that you don't have to pick up your phone or look at your phone or your watch all the time. To me, that's enough, which I guess is like Google Glass. And I was really into the idea of Google Glass. I don't know why it failed. And, and for what I want, I just want running. I just want maps and basic notifications and info, which this doesn't do. This doesn't do, but it's pretty close. So, yeah, anyway, that is a thing. So I will do that. But thought I'd show that. When do we get the Hiko Hi-Fi technology brand? I don't know. I think if I get a technology brand, I mean, I would love if there's some Chinese factory out there that wants to make the augmented reality glasses that I'm currently describing. Hell, I would love to do that. It wouldn't actually be hi-fi. It would be probably AI, but it would definitely be glasses. I still think, I mean, if they can make these, they must be really close to being able to make what I want anyway. So this is what I'm excited for. I'm going to turn into one of those YouTubers. Maybe. I mean, if this, I'd love to be sponsored anyway. So that is all pretty cool. And yeah, and ding, someone is saying, Aaron, yeah, cycling is great in Japan. Lots of people indeed do that. The toys just get more expensive as you age. That is true. Mr. Cordy Chap, glad that you can make it. Anyway, so that's all the stuff there. We are 50 minutes in. I haven't even started on the stories yet, so let's get into the stories. But that is my latest thing. It just arrived today, and I'm thinking I should make a video sometime about my whole running setup, because now there's quite a lot to it, actually. I've got the fancy shoes, I've got the music, I've got the music app, I've got the watch, I've got the health app, I've got the, yeah, ridiculous, actually. So what else have we got? Apparently, the Chinese, the urine testing competitors in China's biggest rap contest, which, yeah, that sounds about right, which reminds me, I've got to do my medical checkup soon. Hope I get good scores on my urine. These somen, Nagashi somen, where they set up these huge bamboo sort of pipes, and they like to have these festivals where you can come and pick up the flying by somen. It's actually, somen is delicious. It's just really, really thin rice noodles, and it's, just water and rice noodles, actually. But there's this idea that you let it flow down the bamboo tubes and pick it up as you want to eat it. However, a lot of people have pointed out that people basically double dipping, to use a Seinfeld analogy, people putting their mouth using chopsticks that they're using to eat with and slobber all over, they're putting into the, I guess the lesson with Nagashi somen, as with most things in life, is to make sure that you're upstream. Seems like an excellent way, to me it seems like an excellent way to catch several diseases at once. But that's just my take. But that is a thing. What else have we got here? So this is me running it today with the new glasses, and it was really gloomy. Also, the app which I'm using for the camera stick has like these AI warping things, which are kind of fun. So I was indulging a little bit today. It's pretty cool. I don't know. Like I said, it just makes it fun. If you're gonna go out running, it's kind of, it can be a little bit boring if you're picking somewhere that's interesting and you can, And plus, I'm doing it with, health goals and stuff like that. So you've got all of that. The BeamPod says, okay, I'm ready for summer. That's something which I sometimes think, and I immediately regret thinking as soon as summer comes, at least here in Tokyo. 1 week into summer, you're like, come back winter, all is forgiven. And this winter, actually, although this winter is like a record warm winter, and people are saying this summer is going to be like a record, you've got like El Nino, and we've got all the factors that indicate that it might be like the warmest summer ever coming up. At the same time, we've had like a really cold couple of weeks here. So who really knows? But yeah, that's stuff that people say when they forget what summer's really like. Gaijin Mummy is an institution and must be protected at all costs. She is always taking photos around Sumida, of course, of the Sky Tree, and all the other parts of the ghetto. But the rivers down there are delightful. Etaibashi and so on, I think, is the blue one there, and all lit up different colors and from the right angle. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, she's pretty good at picking up those photos that show it off pretty well. Here's an interesting one. Japanese used to be famous as like the tourists that go everywhere around the world. And yeah, it's like there's this association of Japanese always being in movies. Japanese would always, they'd always be seen in the 80s. If Japanese appeared in movies, it would always be as a cameo, as a group of tourists with cameras taking photos or something like that. And I think it's not just perception, but I think Japanese are traveling less than they used to. Of course, during the bubble, they had money for the first time, and we're enjoying that. Lately, Japanese, the yen isn't going very far, and it's kind of funny. Even though the Japanese passport currently being the most powerful, or among the most powerful passports in the world, and remember, Europeans kind of cheat because they basically, there's a question whether European countries are really proper countries anymore, at least to the extent that they have a European government, and they can all sort of within the Schengen area just travel without having even border checks. So does that count as free visa travel when it's basically not even a border? It's becoming like traveling between states and the US. But even with them, still the Japanese have a more access friendly passport than most European countries. And yet, in spite of that, only 17% of Japanese people have a passport. With apparently Tokyo, 30% of people have a passport, and in Akita Prefecture, only 6% or 5.8% have a passport. It's kind of funny. They've got the best passport in the world. They've got a ticket to Disneyland, and they just they stay home and play video games. Is kind of what it looks like, which is a bit disappointing. Especially, yeah, just given how good the passport is. It's a bit of a waste. But there you go. Oh, the comments just updated, so let me just quickly see if there's anything here. Yes, Cordy Chat made it. Good, glad that you could make it. Yeah, the Nagashi saw me. I think I've done it before, but I would not. Yeah, the person down the bottom would. I don't know. Just if you think about it for a second. Now it's Chinese tourists. Yeah, that's a fair point. So yeah. During the show last week, you learned about power outages that happened in Panama when the winds are high. During the past week, I didn't realize that Panama had high winds. I've heard about the power outages. I didn't know that they were because of the wind. I know that there's been other problems down there, but yeah. Well, yeah, on an American police body cam anyway. Maybe that's part of it. Certainly, if you think that only 5% or 5.8% of the people in Akita have passports, probably those are not the people who would be the types that would be. It's not to say that there aren't hooligans in Japan or people who do dumb things. If the police had body cameras, that there are people who wouldn't act like idiots and try to make national news or whatever if they saw a police with a body cam. Which, by the way, police in Japan don't have body cams. All you'd see is just collecting a lot of umbrellas, and giving directions and asking for foreigners' gaijin cards. That's pretty much the whole thing. So it wouldn't really be as exciting as in America, but yeah, there would be YouTubers and idiots that would do that. But if only 5.8% of people in Akita have passports, pretty sure the ratio of hooligans to passport holders is probably pretty low, and that's probably why you never see people, at least in America, very rare that you would see people doing that. Yeah. Of course, in Europe, I suppose it's pretty common, and well, remember as well for the Brits, you've got the legacy of the empire as well. So Brits often have family overseas and connections overseas, which, Japan tried it. It didn't really work out very well having an empire. So that's probably another part of the reason. But yeah, about to mention Adachi. No, I'm not going to mention Adachi. Adachi, I don't know. I actually had some people from Adachi whose feelings were very hurt that I kept mentioning Adachi. So yeah, I've got that. Unseen Japan. People in Japan isn't as technically advanced as claim. Counter argument. Portable butt cleaning machines. This is no joke. Seriously, I got a butt cleaning machine right over there when I went to America. Like I say, to me, I just feel like I'm going, whenever I travel overseas, I'm going to Australia in a couple of weeks for 2 weeks, and I could not really go to Australia anymore without a butt cleaning machine. These are with the portable ones. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've got to have a full body shower after I take a poop in Australia or America now. So yeah, without the portable bidet, that is a thing. And, a lot of people sort of talking about that. And there's all these comments there, of course, but, what was it in the replies? It reminds me in the movie Demolition Man, how the people from the future mock Sylvester Stallone for not knowing how to use the 3 seashells, which they apparently use in the toilets now. And this is kind of how it feels. I feel like a future person talking to Sylvester Stallone whenever I go anywhere outside of Japan. And that's why I carry my 3 seashells, my portable butt cleaner. So that must have been a fun translation. I wonder who translated that. But yes, that is essential stuff. I have 30 minutes, so halftime reports for all stories. Good luck. Thank you. Yes, okay, speeding it up. Yeah, that's fine. We're 3 hours into the whole week, so I've got plenty of time. This will be easy. Terrible, of course, the terror attacks in Moscow. In what was it, Krokus or something? The city just outside of Moscow. And terrible, but again, watching the cynical way, not unlike the way that America cynically exploited 9/11 to say we got to attack Iraq, which had absolutely nothing to do with those attacks in any way whatsoever. I mean, Iraq has its problems, but had nothing to do with those attacks, and yet that became the excuse for going and killing 100,000 Iraqis. And already Putin's talking about, they were trying to drive towards Ukraine. It turns out they're trying to drive towards Belarus, the guys that they caught. And, terrible, terrible people that did this and so on. But at the same time, as Russia's looking like they're going to use this as a pretext to escalate against, basically bombing Ukraine, which Ukraine, remember, doesn't really attack Russia. I mean, they attack, the odd facility or two, but they don't attack cities like Russia's wholesale sending missiles at cities in Ukraine with all their sort of military force. And here we are, 60,000 people in the metro sheltering from missiles raining down on Kyiv. At the same time that the Russians that the Russian government is claiming that they're sort of victims. I mean, speaking of terror attacks, Ukraine's been going through it for no reason from Russia for a long time. So I don't know. It's sort of like I feel terrible for all the victims. And, again, any sort of terrorism is bad. But at the same time, hearing the Russian state talking about it when it's basically daily carrying out terror attacks for no reason on Ukraine seems rich. So okay, I can see right now, for a moment, StreamYard went into spinning circly mode. Yeah, I can see everyone now reacting to it. I am back. I don't know what just happened. This never happens, I swear. So yeah. Can you see me now? Perhaps. I'm back. Okay, good. Yeah, that freaked me out as well for a minute. I got the spinny things. I've never seen that before. It looks like that might have been an issue with StreamYard. Yeah, I think that's exactly it, which is why maybe I'm going to change the subject. I mean, I'm a very important person. I think that would be completely understandable. I swear this never happens. But yes, I am back. Speaking back, Tudom, which I always hear your name when I think of the Netflix thing. But good to see you, Ian Macaulay. Good to see you as well. But yes, and hello Vladimir. Nice to have viewers from Russia. I didn't even know that you could watch YouTube from there. So there we go. I guess I better change the subject super fast. what people like to be called. Apparently, men like to be called shujin, which of course means the master. So I suppose our man from Germany has the name that husbands like to be called, but women prefer to be called tsuma rather than okusama, even though people don't say it. And for parents, mama, papa, okasan, otosan are about tied. So yeah, a lot of kids. My son still prefers to say papa, mama, even though technically kids aren't really supposed to say that after they're about like 6 or 7, but lately kids are saying that. So there you go. Since we've annoyed Russia, let's move on to China. You all saw that China basically, they've got these massive Coast Guard boats, and they're not Coast Guard in most countries are civilians, but these are military boats. They've militarized the Coast Guard, and they're pretty good at this. Where like in India, they have rules with the disputed border with India that they won't use firearms patrolling the borders which they dispute. But when they met up with a whole bunch of with an Indian patrol and got into a fist fight, they have like spiked baseball bats and stuff, and they threw all of these soldiers off like a bridge and killed a whole bunch of these Indian soldiers without using firearms. And so that kind of puts India in a dilemma: that do you shoot back or do you send an attack over? When technically they stuck with the rules, but they did it just like in a way that was the same as if they had guns. And now with the Philippines, of course, China suddenly decided that a bunch of Philippine islands and reefs off the Philippines really belong to China, the 9-dash line. And Philippines, which has its own military boats on some reefs, just making sure that they keep a presence there so that China doesn't march in and take them over. China's trying to isolate those reefs. So that Philippines has to sort of pull their people out, and then China can sort of take them over and abandon the claim. And the whole idea being that China wants to have a maritime border that goes all the way up to the Philippines, whereas the Philippines has always had this border, and it's just sort of China's just trying to change the borders now. And they're being super aggressive. They're ramming these Philippine boats, which Japan's offered to give it sort of beefier, Coast Guard boats and so on. But also the Chinese, they have these water, they've got these water hoses like you have, like the whaling boats have that they put on the Greenpeace boats and stuff. But these water cannons that they have on these Chinese Coast Guard boats were sufficient to basically severely damage the boats that they were aimed at and injure all the staff. So it's a bit like the spiked baseball bats. They figured out how to not use like live ammunition and do maximum damage. And so, they've just gone and smashed up a boat and injured a whole bunch of people on it. And the Philippines are saying that, China's both out of line, inside Philippine territory, trying to steal Philippine territory and acting like violently and smashing up boats, and please stop it. And China's very angry. China's then basically in response, warns the Philippines, don't escalate. You talk like that, you're going to escalate things and make them worse. So it's like China, again, kind of playing the same games as Russia, just like, don't complain about the way we abuse you so much or we'll get really angry. It's kind of horrible stuff, which is just, again, a sign of the times that we have to, everyone up here, can't take for granted the peace in this part of the world. I guess that's part of the thing. Yeah, so China now, come at me, bro. I don't know what bro is in Chinese, but there we go. Big news. I haven't really been following sumo lately, but for the first time in 110 years, sumo works that there's a 15-day tournament. There are different divisions, which are all based on sort of win-loss records and promotions and rankings. And we've just had, for the first time in 110 years, a new entrant into the Makunuchi, into the top division, with I think like 30 wrestlers, and they do 15 bouts or something. So actually, it can't be 30 because they all fight each other. So it must be 15, 14, or whatever in the top bracket. In his first time ever in the top tournament, he's just been promoted into the top division, and he won. He ended up with a 13-2 wins, 2 losses in his first go ever in the top division, which has not been achieved in 110 years old. In fact, Taiho, one of the greatest sort of legendary yokozuna from over 100 years ago, he's just repeated that feat. Which is basically historic. I believe Takeru Fuji is also, lately most of the really great sumo wrestlers are all from Mongolia. They've all come to Japan, and they've lived in Japan for a long time, and they've come up through the Japanese stable system. But, the Mongolian wrestling gives them skills that they acquire as kids in Mongolia that the Japanese wrestlers don't have. But this is like, the great Japanese hope. He's actually, Japanese, and it looks like he's come in and he's taking names and kicking butts. So there you go, pretty cool. The LDP is seriously considering punishing 4 members who pocketed illegal, who basically personally pocketed illegal fundraising money from fundraising parties. This is still the biggest scandal happening in the government at the moment. This is causing the LDP to collapse. 90 members of the LDP illegally collected and put in their own pocket, like without declaring funds which they raised in political fundraising parties. So the LDP is considering punishing 4 of them, but there's like 90 of them, and who knows what they're even going to do to the 4. So this is why the LDP is kind of falling apart at the moment. New rules will allow foreign students to find part-time jobs in Japan, which is, I think, a win-win, because a lot of, like convenience stores are shutting down because they can't find part-time staff and so on. So allowing people on student visas to work, good if you want to come to Japan and study and get a job at the same time, and good for the places that need those sorts of jobs. Softy Papa, good to see you jump into the chat. I am going to continue to push ahead. What else have we got for topics here? We've got cherry blossoms. Yeah, Gary Reedy pointing out correctly that it was supposed to be blooming, but it's turned into, it's been delayed a week, so all the forecasts were wrong, and it's actually going to turn out to be like the latest start for cherry blossom season in a decade, which, given the trend of everything getting warmer and happening earlier, is quite a thing. Shohei Otani. So let's talk about this. I'm not really an expert on the story, but the story seems to be that it was discovered that money had been transferred from Shohei Otani's bank accounts to, again, the famous chat. So Shohei Otani, I assume everybody knows who Shohei Otani is. I did not know that Taiho was born in Ukraine, although I think I've heard stories like that. There's a lot who are like born in Sakhalin or born in like the Russia and so on, but I didn't know that he was part Ukrainian, or born in Ukraine. So there you go. Cool thing. Actually, there's a couple of famous, Riki Dozan as well, like the most famous pro wrestler in history was North Korean. So you get things like that as well from the period when Korea was part of Japan. But after the war and the separation of the Koreas, he was originally from the North. And this is actually why there are Japanese like pro wrestlers and politicians who were in his stable who continued to promote good relations with North Korea because of the tie of Riki Dozan, the most famous wrestler of all time as well. So yeah, you get a lot of that. Shohei. So Shohei Otani, of course, if you don't know, he is probably, he came up even through high school. He was being called out on NHK as like the greatest Japanese baseball player kid, ever seen. And people like, okay, they convinced him to play in the Japanese pro leagues for a couple of years, but eventually got snapped up. He went to America. He went and joined the Angels. I saw the meme where, Shohei Otani regrets not researching which baseball teams were good before deciding where to play. However, he's moved across town from the Angels to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he not only is an amazing home run hitter, but he also pitches. He does both, which is in this day and age where everyone specializes, is super unusual. And he makes like the all stars both as a pitcher and as a hitter. He's setting all kinds of records and is considered to be, as I understand, even in America, one of the best baseball players of all time. So he's a great, something everybody's very proud of him and very excited. He's a bit of a Michael Jordan of baseball type of a situation. However, like Michael Jordan apparently loved gambling, and it seems, officially, what was happening was transfers were being made out of Shohei's bank accounts to bookies that were handling sports betting. Which is legal in 40 states in America, but not California, where he lives. It's illegal. And plus all the other implications of athletes being involved in heavy sports betting, and the potential for stuff. When you got someone like Otani, with a degree of control that he can exercise as well, it's kind of alarming when you see athletes involved in sports betting. However, when it looked for a moment like this might be Otani, immediately his interpreter said, "Oh, it was me." And the original story was, I had these gambling problems. I'm a gambling addict, and I told Shohei I have all these debts, and Shohei helped me by transferring the money for me. But he didn't know what was going on. He just agreed to pay off these guys who were going to break my legs. And then they investigated a little bit further, and then they were kind of like, oh, so Shohei knew that this was to pay off bookies for your debts, and then he changed his story again midweek. He was, oh no, he didn't know anything. So basically, the Ippei Mizuhara, the interpreter, has basically been fired with prejudice, like immediately. He's been sort of cast away, and apparently he made like $4.9 million in transfers to sports bettors. So not small amounts involved here, even though Shohei's like on like $400 million or something for his contract. And they're saying that basically the interpreter somehow stole although he didn't really steal because the transfers were from Shohei to the bookies, but they're saying that somehow this was his way of stealing money from Shohei Otani. Now, there is a phenomenon in Japanese politics, which is whenever a politician is found, like is the situation with these fundraising parties or whatever, they immediately, or whenever there's any type of political corruption or whatever, when they're found collecting bribes in their home constituency or whatever, or not declaring money, immediately the secretary, the assistant of the politician, comes forward and says, "Oh, that was me. The politician didn't know anything about it. I resign. I will accept. I will go to the police and turn myself in and confess and take the jail time." And there's kind of this phenomenon of falling on assistants and sidekicks falling on swords in order to protect. Certainly this happens in politics, and I'm not saying that the interpreter here is playing like the staff secretary of Shohei Otani covering for a gambling problem that Japan's greatest athlete might have. But nobody would say that because, of course, that's not the story being told. But it's pretty much what I think everyone is thinking. Everyone loves Shohei, but this pattern looks way too familiar. With the presumption that Mizuhara, the guy, like I say, he's gonna have to duck out, but he'll be sort of taken care of separately. I mean, geez, the guy who's paying him has got hundreds of millions of dollars to sort of take care of him later on. So I don't know. Without wanting to be conspiracy brother, that is kind of the under. So of course, Otani's got a new interpreter all of a sudden, and I mean, it isn't clear to me how Otani was supposed to have accidentally, or how anybody could have manipulated Otani's bank account to transfer $5 million without his knowledge, which is the story that they're using right now. Looks a little bit suspicious to me, even though I love Otani and he's a great baseball player. But there you go. So who knows what's happening there. But yeah, I'm going to take a quick look at the comments, even though I am still racing. But strippers and money, what's not to love about the LDP? Indeed. And there was another one. So the strippers, of course, were in Wakayama. But in Saitama, the youth chapter of the LDP did something similar, basically. They had, that's right, they were in, apparently the senior politicians took all the junior LDP members out to SM bars and made them like cross-dress, and which again, if that's like what they're into, I guess that's kind of fine. But the fact it was done with like political funds on the LDP's thing, and the photos from the party, had like the senior politicians like kind of forcing the junior members to cross-dress and stuff like that. That's kind of awkward as well. Not as much of a big deal's being made about that as the strippers, or exotic dancers, as they're preferring to call them. But there you go. Disney is way too expensive. That is true. Shohei, hey, indeed. Shohei, hey, what you doing? All of that. But yeah, so boom. I see there's pole dancing and stuff happening in the comments. Wow, the comments are always more interesting than what I'm talking about. Saudi Arabia. Hey, I can be cool. Saudi Arabia is building a Dragon Ball theme park. I don't know, like, if the timing, does this have anything to do with the creator of Dragon Ball dying or something? I don't know. But the idea is pretty cool. That said, I mean, you think about theme parks. You think about like Legoland World in Nagoya. Everyone who went there was talking about there's no shade. It's all concrete. You're in the sun in the middle of the Japanese summer, and standing in these long lines outside in Japan at these theme parks. It's always like it's pretty horrible in the summer. So based on that experience, I don't know that a theme park in Saudi Arabia is really the best place to put your next theme park. But that said, I mean, the Saudis obviously have lots of money, and I guess they're still trying to figure out ways to spend money to like create other streams of income when all the dinosaur fuel runs out. But apparently, a Kedah City Entertainment Hub, which will include a F1 race course and a Six Flags branded amusement park. So the Saudis are like, I mean, I have to respect that they're if they're gonna waste their $1 billion. I mean, you've got the line, the Neom City, and a whole bunch of other sort of mega projects that the Bin Salman there is doing when he's not murdering Saudi journalists in embassies and consulates overseas. I mean, human rights not a strong point, but he makes really great amusement parks. So yeah, Saudi, a complicated country. I'm not sure I would necessarily be racing to the Dragon Ball theme park although there again, maybe they'll do it indoors. Maybe they'll figure out some way to do that. So there we go. Certainly more tolerable. Might be more tolerable because it's more dry, but I think like they have like 48, like 50 degrees, like crazy heat there. There again, I don't know which part of Saudi Arabia it's in. It's a big country. Interesting sign here. So you get this sort of sign where a lot of people say when there are signs that say no foreigners, or we don't. Well, you get a lot of signs like this which people complain about on the internet. And people say, you shouldn't say no foreigners. You should just explain that you don't understand English. And if they speak Japanese, let them do that. And so someone to that extent has taken that sort of advice. Apparently this restaurant has posted a sign saying, apologize, which I assume apologies is what they mean to say. They're not asking the foreigners to apologize. We only speak Japanese. If you don't speak Japanese, perhaps you might want to think about going somewhere else. I think it's about as soft as you can get. But of course, a lot of people are still screaming outrage at this. To me, that's a pretty good effort, honestly, at trying to at least explain. I mean, again, they'd say, well, why would you turn down business from foreign? Why would you discriminate, service against foreigners? But I think they've been pretty clear. And this is the thing about Japan as well. A lot of Japanese businesses operate on the idea that they don't want business. You got a small hole in the wall in a city of 35 million people. If you're really good, what they do is they take the signs off. Because they can't handle, when they prefer, if they have enough customers, if they have all the customers that they can handle, they just prefer to have customers that know the system and, make their lives easy. They don't want to deal with complicated customers. And this is where the really fancy bars in Ginza and Itabashi and places like that, they don't even mark the shops anymore. And so many of them refuse Japanese TV shows because if something's ever featured on TV, you have these sort of crowds. So, to the extent that it's a small place that's doing good enough business and for whatever reason isn't comfortable or has had bad experiences with non-Japanese speaking customers, at least they're going to let me eat there. So I feel fine. I guess I'm still winning. Some people are annoyed by this, but honestly, you've got like every other restaurant in Tokyo to go to. So I feel like this is about as good as you can get, at least that they're saying, hey, we're happy to receive, not receive your money, but we don't speak English here or whatever. Of course, nowadays you could point out that there's lots of ways around this. But I don't know. I feel like this is like about as good as you can get, unless you make some rule against turning down business based on inability to speak language. But, I don't know. But yes, quickly checking the how many millions have the Saudis wasted? Millions with a B. There we go. Indeed. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, there was an earthquake the other day. Pretty decent sized shake. It was the first one in a while where all the phone alarms went off, which was a bit of an experience. A lot of people pointed out the phone alarms all going when everyone's phone starts making a siren noise at the same time. That's when you're getting into like alien invasion, Netflix miniseries type territory. And that is what happened. That's what happens when you have an imminent large earthquake. The thing about this particular quake, it was in Chiba. It was about a magnitude 5.3. It was a lower 5 on the Japanese shake scale, which is enough to damage like weak buildings in some parts of Saitama, so north of Tokyo. But it was a vertical shake. So that was, and that's funny. The earthquake started before the alarm started. So there are types of earthquakes which send out these P waves, which they can be read like sometimes up to a minute before the quake happens. And that's good when that happens. But sometimes, they come at the same time as the quake. It depends. If the quake's coming from a long way away, the waves can come first. But if it's actually like a direct shake, and they've talked about this idea, what everyone fears the most is a direct under Tokyo shake. Tokyo is actually on a weird isolated plate. Just Tokyo is at the intersection of like 4 plates. Tokyo is like the worst place imaginable to put a city from an earthquake perspective, because any one of 4 different fault lines could separately move and they would all cause Tokyo to shake. But in addition, there's a little mini broken off, chipped off plate, which is what Tokyo sits on top of. And that plate, like getting sucked under by the plates going under the Pacific Ocean, occasionally just pops up. And vertical shakes are way more destructive than horizontal shakes, because you can absorb horizontal shakes by just the building swaying, but you can't really absorb vertical shakes. So they pancake buildings. And this was a vertical shake. It was a mild vertical shake, but it was sort of building up like bigger earthquakes do. And then everyone's phones exploded. And I had some foreign visitors at the time, so everyone was a bit excited by that. And yeah, it was pretty freaky. But fortunately, it didn't. In Tokyo, it wasn't that big. It was a Shindo 3, which was a regular tremor. But yeah, there you go. Got a thing here. Michael Gillen Pickett. Even people like Debido makes the point in his books that if it's just a concern about language, that's fine. Only the NJs who can speak Japanese will go there. So Davido isn't really interested in the rights of non-ethnic Japanese. He's just so long as he can go there, he's fine. I don't know. That sounds pretty self-serving. Although I guess that was part of the argument he made about his famous onsen case, that his kids who were like half were turned away on the basis that or in fact, he had one kid who looked white and one kid who looked Japanese, and the white-looking kid was not allowed into the onsen. It was straight up, and he made the argument that they could all speak Japanese and follow the rules. But yeah, so you're right. That restaurant would pass the Debido test, but there again, when you've got 33 million tourists coming here this year, you're still going to piss some people off. So what can you do? I made a call the last week with the Love Shack track. I realized I was out running and I was thinking, well, Love Shack, that'd go good with drum and bass. And I was running and it did, and I made a mashup track with it, and it was pretty cool, actually. So there's a drum and bass version of Love Shack, which actually I just got the vocals over a drum and bass thing, and it works really, really well. So there you go. Exactly, Mr. Cordyship. I mean, it's kind of funny when in Papua New Guinea, there's a city in Rabaul, which is like right in between two big volcanoes, and those volcanoes both erupted like 20 years ago. 30 years ago now, and everyone in Auckland, I remember the joke in Auckland was, oh geez, who'd be stupid enough to build a city between two volcanoes? Of course, Auckland, the city that I'm from, has 22 volcanoes in it. The last one erupted 500 years ago, but they're all theoretically could erupt. So yeah, Auckland, my hometown, is literally on a volcano plain. So yeah, we all build in stupid places, but there we go. Boom, boom, boom. What else have we got? More people getting arrested for cannabis than illegal stimulants. It's kind of interesting. Stimulants going down. Stimulants are a very Japanese thing because truck drivers take them. It's basically meth or whatever. But also Adderall or Ritalin because they use a form of methamphetamine in the formulation or whatever. They work as a stimulant. They are classified. If you ever bring that stuff in without a prescription and a letter from the police or something, you're pretty much going to get arrested for bringing that stuff into Japan. Whereas, and of course, meth is just people, overworking, whatever. It's kind of funny when you think about it. I mean, cannabis is kind of a chill out, relax kind of a drug, and stimulants are kind of the do more work. So I don't know, maybe this says something about the culture. Maybe Japanese are less interested in working hard and they're more interested in just sort of chilling out, at least if they're going to do something worth getting arrested over. I've talked about cannabis before. Cannabis is a native plant in Japan, and the native plants are not very strong. They're basically hemp. But the emperor himself was the patron of the Japanese hemp industry at the end of World War II when the Americans oversaw it being outlawed. So and yeah, it's being of course decriminalized everywhere in America. Of course, Japan's homie don't play that. Japan treats cannabis pretty much the same as crack cocaine, literally, like no distinction whatsoever. And the idea that you're having it, they don't think about the pros and cons. They think that, oh, you must have met a gangster to get it. You're doing illegal things with illegal people, and you are an illegal person. It's kind of the stigma against it. So at least there's more arrests happening for it. So again, I get it. I mean, honestly, do not do wacky tobacco in Japan. There are plenty of places where it's legal. And it's just not worth it. It's basically like having it's like making ice cream illegal. It's kind of like, on the one hand, sure, ice cream shouldn't be illegal and you can get ice cream in other countries, but is it worth, just on the principle, getting arrested over having ice cream in Japan? I mean, that's what it's like. You go to Seattle, I mean, there are literally there are probably more marijuana shops down in downtown Seattle than there are ice cream shops. It'll be a close competition. And it's literally at that sort of a level. So don't do it if you're here. But yeah, you can get arrested, and people are not light on it. So it's no joke, but there you go. And yeah, here's the Otani drama. That is the freaky earthquake. That is the message, the freaky message that came up on my phone. 4 minutes, we'll be fine. Fujitsu was hacked again. I don't know, Fujitsu not doing well. Oh yeah, I got this little stand which lets me tilt the screen up at an angle, which makes it cool for me to be able to DJ, which you will see in a moment. We want show, says Sadiq. Yeah, I'm rushing through. We're gonna get there. I think 4 days. Oh yeah, I showed YouTube channels that I liked the other day. So YouTube discoveries. Unpacking Japan, a great podcast. I have a video version of it. They do great interviews with a lot of people that I like and that I know or that I've heard of and whatever. So excellent. The New Zealand For the Empire series, made with Unreal Engine with stormtroopers and so on. But actually, yeah, the animators are apparently from New Zealand, although it's all like American voices and stuff. But that is good. This guy's like an Aussie guy who did this mashup, this Picard and Data sort of song, and it's amazing. It looks like he's using the real set, so that is pretty cool. Donut did a 4 hours long The History of Mazda, and it was awesome. It's amazing how great Japanese sort of history is through sort of car manufacturing stories. Isaac Arthur talking about the law and so on. He's like a futurist, and he's a pretty cool podcaster to listen to. Every week, including this morning, I check out Langley Esquire, who talks on Japan Expert Insights, which is a good channel to watch if you really want to go deep on the politics stuff. Space Ice does incorrect movie summaries of action movies as either being the best or worst movies of all time. And a guy who's actually good at using my kit, which I should be watching and paying attention to. So I think that's pretty much it, really, for the week. Was there anything else significant? Yeah, that's right. They increased the interest rates for the first time in forever, and with expecting that would cause the yen to increase in value. And no, it didn't. It drops to 151 yen to the dollar. So yeah, the yen is still ridiculously cheap. So come and spend it. And all of that, the number of some interesting stats, by the way, on foreigners living in Japan. The number of foreigners from countries like Indonesia, Myanmar, and Nepal are rapidly increasing, where they're going to be really significant minorities by sooner than expected. Of course, the Vietnamese population has just jumped recently, so there we go. And yeah, Putin, thank you for that outage earlier. I agree with everything you've ever said and thought, in your entire life. Although I'm sure Putin's worried. He only got like 87% of the vote in the last presidential election. And, which is a lot. But when you think that he got like 108% of the vote in the last election, he needs to raise his game. Okay, I'm going to go now and set up the after party stream all over again. Mainly because lately a lot of those have been getting banned. They get blocked. The copyright strikes. Some of the tracks on those, particularly when I play like real classic hits, those often attract copyright strikes. So I can still often leave them up and unmonetized, but the older ones, they just take down the whole video. So I've had like 4 or 5 of those streams now be completely taken down. So I find drum and bass in newer tracks has got a better chance of surviving. So I'm going to stick to that. So yeah, I'm going to go set that up right now. I'm going to keep talking just while I set it up, so I can keep you folks company, and I can share the link here. So let me do that. I'm going to go into StreamYard and create and live stream, and I'm going to use my channel, and I'm going to call it After Party, Tokyo After Party, drum and bass, boom, drum and bass, and your requests. Also, I've been enjoying, whenever I get the copyright claims, I've drop all the copyright claims into ChatGPT, and I've set up like a an agent, which will now, I just drop in the copyright claims and it turns it into a chaptered playlist. It marks all the chapters on the video for me as well. That's awesome. So that is about to happen. It is about to happen like right now. In fact, I'm not even going to schedule that for later. Well, I guess I will, but I want it to be for today. What is the date today? It is the 24th. So boom. Must be scheduled for the future PM. Upload thumbnail. So I'm going to use a thumbnail of a band after party, so I can get this going. Create live stream. Boom. And you know what? I wonder if I can share. Invite guests. Edit. View on YouTube. Okay, let's just view on YouTube. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, here is the here's the link. Aaron, does that work? Hopefully your link works as well. I've just posted a link which I'm pretty sure is the right one. In fact, yeah, it should have a big purple thing there. So anyway, thank you for keeping me company. I'm going to quickly set up the after party. If you've got to go. If you're going to hang around for some music, hang around for some music. It's always fun. Check out the link over there and come and join me for the after party soon. Boom. Have a good week, everybody. Peace. Ending stream. Boom.